there's a reason why this worked and this didn't. What's poppin' and welcome back to the channel. If you've been on the internet for the past couple weeks, you've definitely heard the buzz about Spider-Verse. And yeah, it's a great movie. Go watch my review on it if you want to hear more. But after leaving the theater, it got me thinking. There was another movie that tried to do something similar in introducing a multiverse as well. It also tried to introduce a secret society-like organization. Yes, today we compare the beloved Spider-Verse with the not-so-beloved Multiverse of Madness. God, there are plenty of flaws beyond their handling of the multiverse, but I'll try and keep my reasons purely within the topic. So, let's go back a bit. When introducing any new concept, you need to build up to it a bit, and a reasonable way to introduce it. Especially for longtime fans of whatever franchise they follow, having a sudden shift might turn people off guard. Even if it's as small as an introduction of, let's say lightning bending from Avatar: The Last Airbender, the way they present it feels natural and works within the realm of what we already have pre-established with firebenders. It's a natural progression and it feels like, oh, this is definitely something that could be in the world of Avatar. Both Spider-Verse and Madness had the benefit of having a previous installment briefly cover what the possibilities of a multiverse can be. Both had a way of setting up of what's to come and left the door open to the other possibilities of what can happen. Kingpin's Collider bringing all the spider people to Miles' universe, and Peter butchering the spell that Dr. Strange was casting. These are, in their own right, ways to set up a multiverse. By the end of these movies each, the anomalies are sent back to whence they came, but still leaving the possibility of a future multiversal travel movie. Well, there's even a trailer for Multiverse of Madness after the Spider-Man No Way Home was finished. If that's not the continuation of a multiverse, I really don't know what is at this point. Despite Into the Spider-Verse having the potential to make another sequel, it didn't necessarily have to go that route. It definitely felt like a natural way of ending Miles' story, but it still left the door open. Granted, I do know that Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home, I believe their order was supposed to be switched in terms of releasing, therefore there were some, I guess you could say, some creative issues in terms of how it was going to fit together. But that being said, well, honestly, Disney should have accounted for that. They released a mediocre movie, and that's on them. But whatever, now we have Multiverse of Madness out, and now we have Across the Spider-Verse out. These two movies are finally out, and now we can really see how much they expanded on the concept of the multiverse. Let's go with the positives here, because I'm gonna be real with you, I don't really want to talk about Multiverse of Madness. It's such a painful movie to sit through, while Across the Spider-Verse is basically the antipathy of that movie in every single aspect. Okay, I know I said I'd stay within the realm of the whole multiversal topic, but goddammit, you need to learn how to write characters, Marvel. There are just little scenes of Miles and Gwen, or Miles and his family, or him interacting with any other Spider-Man that feel so alive. I'm a firm believer that even if a story is weak, if the characters are charismatic and enjoyable to watch, and very entertaining, then they can uplift a weak story. Across the Spider-Verse had the benefit of having both great characters already pre-established and being expanded upon, as well as introducing new characters in a very good story. They gave each character and each new Spider-Man their own little thing to them, their own little kind of pizzazz that makes them so unique from the rest of the other Spider-Men. Yes, some of them were just used for gags, but in a way that just enhances it even more because of how absurd it is. And that brings me to one of my first points: have a little fun with it. There are many complaints of Multiverse of Madness that say there wasn't enough going on. They didn't utilize the multiversal setting enough, whereas Across the Spider-Verse went all out with every single thing. I previously mentioned Cowboy Spider-Man, a T-Rex Spider-Man, a Cat Spider-Man, a Lego Spider-Man, everything. They pulled out all the stops for this one and it shows. And even though most of these characters were used for gags, it creates for a more lively and very much more interesting multiverse. You see all these wild variations of Spider-Man and you're just thinking to yourself, this is just so fun. They truly push the variant idea to its very limits. That's why the movie's just so damn funny too. Like I said earlier, each Spider-Man has their own thing or little gimmick that they have. Writing in a multiversal setting is extremely important because, let's be honest, if the writing from Multiverse of Madness was carried over into Across the Spider-Verse, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting. Let's cut over to Multiverse of Madness for a quick second. I want you to look at the Illuminati. Let's be honest, there's not a lot going for them. We have never interacted with any of these characters before. We might have seen them in different variations of their own films, like Professor X, but to the MCU, they really don't hold much weight. They're just new characters. So when they all eventually get killed off by Wanda, we're all kind of rooting for Wanda. The members of the Illuminati are just so bland. They really don't have anything going for them. They're kind of just there, sitting in the shadows. Their presence is known, but not really felt. Whereas, let's take a look at Across the Spider-Verse again. When Miguel meets Miles, Hobie and Gwen are with him. Miguel can't help but get distracted by Hobie because he's such an eyesore, constantly disrupting things and just overall having to get the final say in things, which kind of annoys Miguel. You feel his presence in that moment, and it makes it all the more interesting seeing these two different characters from different universes interact. Even though the Illuminati did interact with Doctor Strange, it felt short-lived and kind of unfulfilling. Like there were just some people talking down to him and refusing to let him do his own thing. There wasn't the passion or soul behind it. We know nothing about these variants, and apart from a little smile you get when seeing them, they're really not that charismatic. They kind of feel soulless, and kind of just prove that the only reason they were there was just so they can get killed off by Wanda in a flashy fight scene. But that's at the cost of none of those deaths having weight to them. They just kind of happen. And Across the Spider-Verse, every single supporting character that's a Spider-Man gets their little moment to shine. Using Hobie as an example, he tells Miles to use his palm so that his effect can be more detrimental, allowing Miles to escape. And later on giving Gwen a device allowing her to multiversal travel again, so that she can meet up with Miles. Even though he was just a supporting character, he's already going down as a fan favorite. No one can say the same for the Illuminati members. They are literally just punching bags. And that could be fine, except they build them up to be this elite group of heroes, making their cameos really just that. They don't have much importance whatsoever. At least in No Way Home, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man kind of mentor Tom Holland and aid him in fixing these villains so that they can return back to normal. Even though they were both cameos, there was purpose behind them that you can see narratively. And it also drove the whole multiversal plot, where Tom Holland won't send any of them home until he cures them. Tobey and Andrew are kind of forced to help in order for them to get back home. Meeting the Illuminati felt more like a detour from the main plot. The weight of this elite group of characters doesn't hold up nearly as much as it does with the Spider-Verse Society, which each Spider-Person having their own unique flair to them, which corresponds with their universe. And honestly, this leads us perfectly into the next reason. The universes in Multiverse of Madness weren't really explored. We get this trippy scene of Doctor Strange floating through multiple different universes, distorting his face and causing the laws of physics to be broken, and it's cool until you realize that it's over within just a minute. We don't really get to explore any of these universes or anything like that. There's no life behind them and it makes it less interesting. Instead, where they do wind up is a New York City lookalike. For a film called Multiverse of Madness, it's more so tame than anything. I feel like they could have done a lot more with these multiversal concepts, but they kind of just scraped the bottom of the barrel with this one. The New York lookalike setting was just really uninspired and boring. We did get some cool settings, but I still feel like there could have been more in terms of a multiverse. Even though in Across the Spider-Verse, where we didn't get to explore every single dimension where the other Spider-Men were from, we can at least tell that there was something drastically different about them. Whether it be Spider-Man India's towering landscape of a city, or even just Nueva York being an interesting set piece in and of itself. Across the Spider-Verse does a good job of making it feel lived in, but still unique enough to have it be its own thing. There was a lot of style and passion clearly put into each and every one of these little scenes, which made them all the more enjoyable. In the 1-minute sequence where Doctor Strange is going through a bunch of different universes, you don't get nearly enough out of that. And it sucks because we could have probably spent a good chunk of the movie in some other more interesting universe, but instead we got stuck with the New York lookalike. And at the very least they could have changed it a little bit more drastically, but as it is, it only really has a few minor tweaks that set it apart from a regular New York City. Even though most of the Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse had a New York City-like thing going on, they all look drastically different from one another, and it's often made noticeable. None of these 3 New Yorks look identical, and that's what makes them so interesting. Multiverse of Madness didn't really play with the concepts as much as I think it could have, and it sucks because you have such a talented director like Sam Raimi working on this film, but his potential is kind of just limited. I feel like they could have done a lot more with his talents and with the whole multiversal concept that would have turned out a much better product. I feel like by the end of Multiverse of Madness, this film kind of just leaves you wanting more, but in a bad way, you know? You felt kind of cheaped out by the end of it, and it just kind of resolves, and it leaves off at this kind of really weird state. Whereas in Across the Spider-Verse, you want more because you want to know how the story is going to end. There's a huge narrative going on with tons of different subplots that you just gotta see resolved. You loved the multiversal concept so much from Across the Spider-Verse that you want to see it continue. Whereas in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, you didn't see enough of it, which is why you still want more. Multiverse of Madness is a story left unsatisfying, and Across the Spider-Verse is a story left unresolved. But at least we know it's going to continue in a part 2. I think I speak for a lot of MCU fans when I say the whole multiversal thing hasn't really been working as well as they might have expected. It just feels really disjointed from everything. And on top of that, we get introduced to variations that really don't have much personality. We love seeing all 3 Spider-Man interact because they're all so unique and different. Whereas the Illuminati, apart from maybe Professor X and Reed Richards, they all kind of feel the same, stoic and kind of sassy. And while that could be fine, they're all just kind of flat too. There's nothing more to them, not a lot of substance. It'd be more interesting if they really reacted when they saw Doctor Strange, as Doctor Strange was previously their friend until he chose to sacrifice himself because of the potential danger he might bring. But no, we kind of just get some stupid filler scenes. Now really, comparing these 2 movies is honestly a joke, but I thought it was a fun little comparison considering they both want to strive for the same kind of goal. It's just that one did it better. And that's all I'm going to say on that. If you enjoyed this video, maybe subscribe. And leave a like, it helps out this video a ton. And I'll catch you all later.